It's Divas That Care Radio. Stories, strategies, and ideas to inspire positive change. Welcome to Divas That Care, a network of women committed to making our world a better place for everyone. This is a global movement for women, by women, engaged in a collaborative effort to create a better world for future generations. To find out more about the movement, visit divasthatcare.com after the show. Right now, though, stay tuned for another jolt of inspiration.
One just has to pick up a magazine or turn on a television to see that as women, we are bombarded daily with media images of female physical perfection, setting up the most unrealistic of expectations as to how we should look. No wonder female body confidence is falling while incidents of eating disorders are on the rise. What's most alarming is the way this affects young girls. A reduced sense of self-worth can create anxiety, stress, even depression, causing relationship issues while potentially impairing academic and job performance. In direct contrast, Confidence in Bloom is designed to reinforce the truth and reassure every woman who has ever felt inadequate, unworthy, or tossed aside because of how she looks, that no matter her age, shape, or background, you matter, you are enough now. I, Tina Spolatini, a woman of substance, insist women deserve to be happy, confident, successful, and totally in love with themselves in their own bodies, just the way they are. Through an ongoing series of intriguing conversations with women from all walks of life, who are all extraordinary in their own right, we will embark upon a journey of ultimate self-acceptance and empowerment. Together, we'll share stories, laugh, learn, maybe even shed a few tears when it becomes clear just how far many women have come to realize how wonderful life is when you stand in your own power, feeling fantastic in your own skin. Angela Wilson is my guest today. Meet Angela Wilson, an international best-selling author, captivating speaker, and the founder of Angela Unlimited. Through her work, Angela empowers women to explore and embody their unlimited life, a life brimming with wealth in all its forms. She is passionately dedicated to guiding women on how to find their authentic voice, live out loud, and embrace the richness of the life that awaits them. Driven by her own quest for greater meaning, Angela courageously confronted the question, isn't there more to life than this? And resoundingly answered, yes, there is. Welcome, Angela.
Hi, Tina. So glad to be here.
Oh, good to hear. I'm glad. So I want to know more about Angela Unlimited.
Well, Angela Unlimited. So Angela Unlimited came about from various things in my life. And it was really about setting up a company where I could assist mature women to really start living from a spot of whole wealth and to really build into their next chapter with passion and fulfillment and really go after living their unlimited life. And I called it Angela Unlimited because I needed to remind myself that I'm unlimited. And so every time that I send out anything, it's right there for me. And that's, and it's because that's really super important for us to remember. We are all completely unlimited.
Right? Isn't that the truth? And it's so hard for us I think in general, women don't see that in ourselves, right? Like we don't see ourselves as unlimited or capable of doing anything and everything. We always believe in our, what everyone has always taught us, right? Like this is your job as a woman and this is what you need to do. So yeah, take us back to a moment when you first realized that there had to be more to life than what you were experiencing.
So that's a really fascinating question. So I lived in that space for a very long time. And because I had taken on all these stories over my life of how, I wasn't worth as much as everyone else. And I didn't measure up and I wasn't as smart as, and the list goes on. But what I did was, as I took on those stories, I morphed myself so much that I forgot who I was. And adding to that, I was in a very toxic long-term relationship that then ended abruptly. And I had to go, who am I? And I started remembering. And even through that time where I didn't remember who I was, there was this little voice that was in the back of my head going, there's got to be more to life than this. I'm meant for more. And that's the women that I work with. That's a lot of them have that same little voice. Like, isn't there more than this? Like, they've done all these different things and successful and everything else, and yet there's this longing for something more, which is that passion. And so for me, I had to figure out who I was again. And that's exactly why I came into this business that I'm doing now, because I don't want other women to go through that. It's
Yeah,
time
I
for us
love that.
all to step into our power and really ignite that passion in us and live from that space, because that's what we're here to live.
Yeah, and that brings me back to a sort of a story in my own head. I remember saying to my mom, I was probably in high school, and I remember saying, what happens if I don't have kids? Like, what if I, marry someone who doesn't want kids? Or if I don't get married and I don't have kids, what does that mean for me? Because, you're, as a teenager, you're wondering what life is going to look like. And I remember her saying, your purpose in life is to have kids. That's what you're going to do with your life. Right. And I took that, okay, so that's, kind of what I planned. But then when I was having my kids, like raising my kids, I'm like, so they're getting older. Like, the time is going to come where, like I did, they're going to leave me. What do I do then? Right. Like, so now I've lived out the purpose that my mom ingrained in me. And I know she did it in, with 100% love, if not more. Right. But now what? Right. And so I remember thinking, oh my gosh, who the hell am I now? So it's like, I can relate with what you're telling us, like 100%, because there comes a time, our purpose changes, I think. Like, I don't believe that we're here for one purpose. Like, yes, we have a main purpose, but there's all these little things that build to that. Right. And so, like for me, raising my kids was part of that. And I don't know if you have children, but I'm sure, like, when you look back at your life, the things that you went through, they brought us to where you are now.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, because, I always say, as much as a lot of the things that I went through earlier in life were dark and a struggle, and I wouldn't wish anyone else have to go through that. I don't regret any of it. I regret nothing. And that really comes from the standpoint of all of that brought me to here. And here is pretty dang great. And so I don't believe in going looking back and going, oh, I wish, and that's one of those things that I really one of the big messages too is, it's like, what do you want the rest of your life to look like? What is that next chapter? What would just make your heart sing so much that you jump out of bed in the morning and you're giddy all day long and you live from that space of enjoyment? Now, is that going to be every single day? No, because we're human. And the human factor comes into that, and we're going to have bad days because stuff's going to happen. But when
Right.
we can do that on a like a more consistent basis and have that be our baseline, what happens then too is, when those bad things or those days that we just feel off, they're just a day then. And then we get back to where we're going.
And yeah, I just want to add in there too, that those bad days happen for a reason. There is something for you to look at, to learn from, so that you can be either grateful for what you've got, or something that you can move in your future to make it even better.
Absolutely. It's all learning. That's what we're here for. We're here to learn, and we continue to grow, and we grow from the day we come on to this planet to the day we're not on this planet. And that's our journey. And it's not, it's not one and done. None of this is one and done. It's this beautiful journey that we get to go on, and we get to choose. And I think that's the big thing too. We get to choose how we look at the lessons in life and how we take them in and how we want to move forward from them.
Right. Exactly. I love that. I really love that. So what were some of the biggest internal and external barriers that you had to overcome, just to step into the power that you're in right now?
the biggest one was me, honestly, from the standpoint of, again, as I said, I took on all these learnings when I was younger about how I didn't measure up and how being me wasn't okay, and I had to morph and I had to be that person that everybody else wanted instead of actually being me. So then when I started being me and realizing that when I'm my authentic self and I really come from my center and my heart, that's when the magic in life really starts to happen, because now things are happening and I'm creating and I'm choosing and life starts to flow. And when I'm not in that space, life is hard because I'm pushing against everything, as opposed to letting it come in and really being with it and experiencing it and being joyful about it. So really the biggest barrier was myself. And I would say the other barrier was the really the expectation of what things should look like. That should word. I always say other people will should on us a lot, so we shouldn't should on ourselves. And it really does come from that standpoint of, for the longest time I thought this is the way it should look. This is what I should be doing. This is and when I let go of that and went, how about I do the things that I really desire to do and design my life the way I really desire it to be, as opposed to, you know, you're supposed to do this, and then here's the next step, and here's the next step, and then, and it's even what you mentioned about having children. Not everybody is here to have children,
Right.
right? And
Right.
so, but we hear, especially as women, we hear from a very young age, you go to school, you get married, you have kids, you blah 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 blah, right?
Yeah.
And that's not everybody's path. Not everybody's path. Um,
Right.
and so it's that wasn't my path. I don't have children of my own. I have the most amazing stepson now that is just, oh, he's mine as far as I'm concerned. And that's, but that was the way my life was supposed to work.
Right. And I think accepting that is just as hard as living that, isn't it? Like, we need to accept that, I may not be here to have kids, even if I want them, and it doesn't have to be kids, it could be anything, right? Like, if you wanted to be a teacher when you were growing up and it never happened because, either your grades didn't work or you had to, quit university, or, life happens, God has a path for us, and he's going to make us walk that path whether we want it or we don't, right? In some way or another, right? Some of us have to take the sour path before we get to the clear path, right? But at the end of the day, we are going to end up where we're supposed to end up.
And there's lots of little detours along that path as well that we get to take, that we choose, let's go here, let's go there. But I also a very firm believer that if something is truly truly important, it'll tap you on the shoulder. And then if you don't pay attention, it'll tap you on the shoulder again, because that's the way it works.
I love that. Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. Now, you talk about wealth in all its forms. And
Yes.
now, like you, I don't see wealth as just financial. It's part of it. How do you define wealth? And why do you think it's so important for women to embrace, like, your perspective of wealth?
So, yeah, because when I talk about wealth, I talk about whole wealth. So that's being wealthy in every single aspect of your life. And that is going to be unique to each of us because each of us are unique individuals. And so for me, the way I see it is, for me, it is all about, I want to be wealthy in my health. I want to be wealthy in my relationships, in the connection. And, one of the most important relationships to be wealthy in is that relationship to yourself. That is super important. Wealthy in love, spirituality. And for me, it is also about adventure and travel. That's a wealth bucket for me, because that's important to me, because when I'm in that space and having fun and playing, I'm just so free and all of me. So that's important. And for myself, I don't set money separate at all. So money to me is part of all of it. Not everybody might view it that way, but I do, from the standpoint of, when you're here on this planet in this physical body, You need money. It's really that simple. We need money for every aspect of our life.
Right. I was just going to add that in, right? Because no
Yeah.
matter what we do with our life, somehow we need to have money available in every category. Yeah.
Absolutely. And when you're setting it separate and apart from everything, now you're making it a thing because it's separate and apart as opposed to it being all part and parcel. And
Right.
it's being part of you. And when we're looking at that, that's when we can get to the spot where money isn't a big trigger for people, because money is a trigger for a lot of people. It really is. And so when we can get to that spot where it's just this element that you get to play and dance with, and it flows to you and through you, and you get to do all of these great things that you want to do in your life, because that's the important part, is who you are and how you're showing up in the world. That's when everything else starts to happen. And so that's, as I said, money isn't separate and it's not the only thing. And when we start
Right.
paying attention to all of it, as opposed to paying attention to just this thing or just this thing, that's when our life starts becoming magic, because now we're creating the life that we desire to live, as opposed to living by default. When you're
Right.
not paying attention to that, you're living by default.
Exactly. And when you start showing gratitude for all the things that
Mhm.
you have, the money seems to just flow in, right? Because you're more open to it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So now you work with women primarily, am I right?
Yes.
Yeah. So many women often, well, I think more often than not, struggle to find their authentic voice. So
Mhm.
what are some of the steps that you take to help them reclaim their voice and start living it out loud? Because a lot of us don't do that.
No, that's for sure. And this is part of when I work with the women that I work with, it's really about tapping into what stories are you listening to? Are you listening to the old stories that you took on? Are you listening to the stories of, the high school teacher that told you you couldn't do whatever? Are you listening to something from out in society, or whatever it is? It's not your story. So I really get the women that I work with to start really examining that and start living by their story, so that it is 100% them, as opposed to any noise from anywhere else. And when you can do that, now you can start seeing who you are. Now you can start tapping into that. And now you can start, as you said, living out loud. And that really is, now you can be who you are. You can start showing up as yourself, as opposed to who you think other people want you to be. And so when we can get to that space, now we start choosing ourselves. We start choosing ourselves in every single aspect of your life. That's one of the questions I always love to ask the women that I work with. Where are you living in your life?
Yeah. Are you,
What?
yeah, like are you heading up your own life, or are you just following? Yeah. Yeah. And that's a really good question, because I don't think women look at it like that, right?
No.
Like I was just thinking, not like, I think even just this morning, I'm just sort of not, I mean, most days I'm, where do I want to be right now? But there's days where I catch myself just sort of going with the flow, right? Hiding in behind my kids or behind my husband, allowing them to take the first step and just telling me where to follow, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're not aware of that, you
Yeah.
can't change that. And if you don't change that, you're never going to be seen. You're never going to be heard.
Right.
Right. And so,
Yeah.
and I have a loud voice. I love to talk, right? People hear me when I walk into a room talking, right? Like it's, but at the same time, there's days, and I know just in the last, probably, well, perimenopausal years, I've really slid to the back, right?
Mhm.
Because I didn't know my place. I didn't know, right? And I think, I'm not going to say all women, but I think a lot of women feel the same way, right? Yeah. Yeah. Those are good
Absolutely.
points.
Yeah, that's really the women that I work with are really in that, as you said, that season of transition. So, they've been the mom and now the kids are out of the house, or, they've had the career and it's not fulfilling them anymore. So it's like, but what's next? So it's really about that. And I so identify with what you're saying, and that's why, so Living Out Loud is actually the name of my book. So it's Living Out Loud, Design the Life of Unlimited Possibilities. And that really came about from the standpoint of I never used to talk at all. I was the little meek, mild person in the background because I didn't want to say anything unless I was spoken to. I didn't want to say anything in case I embarrassed the person I was with. I wasn't as smart as everybody else. I wasn't as eloquent as everybody else. I didn't, on and on and on. None of it is true. None of it is true. And yet here
If
I
you give your,
am.
yeah. So what, okay. So in that lesson, Angela, what, if you could talk to yourself like 10, 15 years ago when that was you, what would you say to her now?
It would be trust yourself. Trust yourself, trust in your knowing, trust in your wisdom, and you deserve everything and anything just like everybody else does. You are not less than anyone else. You are not less worthy than anyone else. And you're here to be who you're here to be and impact the way you're meant to impact.
Oh my God, I love that. Okay, so I really hope that every single woman in this world just heard your voice, because I think that is so incredible, right? Because when we look back, yeah, we can see where we were faulted, right? We can see where we held ourselves back, where we didn't give ourselves the potential, right? But now when, we can do it now, like, it's never too late.
No.
Oh,
It's never too late to change. It's never too late to choose yourself. It's never too late to go after your passion. I mentioned the book, and I had always kind of dreamed of that, but I was told that I couldn't do it. I was told that I wasn't good at English. I was told I wasn't smart enough. I was told one year that I was going to be given a bucket of commas as a gift because I was so horrible at writing. And then, fast forward many years. And I was always still kind of putting it on the back burner because I was like, I'm not sure. And then I decided, you know what? I had a conversation with an amazing woman that helped me from the standpoint of she encouraged me. And she said, Angela, why not? Why not now? And I went, yeah, why not now? And, again, I said, well, I'm not a very good writer. And she said, Angela, I'm an editor, and even when I write a book, I have to have somebody edit it. That's what it's. And I went, wow, that makes sense to me. And so I wrote a book, and I got international best-selling author on Amazon.
wow.
So you can do anything if you choose to let yourself open up and have some fun.
That's awesome. Congratulations on your book, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Because, I mean, that's not an easy feat.
No.
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 That takes courage, and that takes power.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Awesome. I love that. I love that. Now, you've helped countless women create a more abundant life. Can you share a powerful transformation story that really stands out to you?
Yeah, so one woman that I was working with, so an amazing woman, has her own business. She's had her own business for some time, quite successful. And what she was finding was she just wasn't feeling fulfilled. So her and I started working together, and it comes back to, and I asked her that question, where are you living in your life? And what we discovered was everything was about her business. And she had let everything else fall to the wayside. And it may sound a little simplistic, but we started with she has always wanted to travel and to be, in these beautiful places. And as we were talking, what I realized, and we started working on right away, just to start playing and opening up. And it was that she loves being surrounded by beautiful things. She absolutely, like, it really makes her feel so warm, and it just fills her heart. Well, she started redecorating her home because she realized she had just disregarded it. And she had so much fun doing that it opened her up to start thinking in a different way, and to start looking at, oh, how could I have more fun this way? How could I have more fun that way? And it's great because she gave me a call, just a little while ago, and said, oh my gosh, Angela. So out of that, she ended up last year, she ended up going and being away in Europe for, I think she was gone for 6 weeks. And she worked while she was gone, and she had just the most amazing time. And this is one of the things she's wanted to do, but she's held back on it. And now, because she's thinking in a different way and open to more possibilities, now she's stepping out. She called me just recently, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I've been nominated for an international award."
Oh my goodness.
And so because she was able to start putting herself out there more and thinking about things in a different light, and so she's off to, she doesn't know if she'll win the award or not, but she was nominated. And so she's off to have that adventure. And it's, and she's like, "Oh, and then I'm traveling here and I'm traveling there and I'm traveling." So it's all about opening up and allowing yourself to really start to live.
Absolutely.
And it's really, when that kind of thing happens, it just makes my heart sing so
Oh,
much.
absolutely. Yeah, I was nominated for an award last year in a women's networking community here in Edmonton. And I was like, at first, I was almost ashamed, right? And I don't know why that was, but I did feel ashamed. But eventually, the time came where I was like, you know what? Be proud. Like, it's a nomination. It doesn't mean you're going to win, right? But everybody that's been nominated in that category, they're all coming from the same place, right? And so for you to be recognized, that's huge, right? And it took some work. I have to be honest, it did take me some work, but I was like, wow, I'm just going to revel in the idea that someone has recognized my work, and that has to be enough, right? I mean, I feel like I'm doing good work. Women need to be heard. Women need to feel confident, right? And so I should be recognized for that too, right? Now, it wasn't easy, but I got there. I love that. And you made me think of my dining room table. I bought it I don't know, almost 30 years ago now. And I had to move it to to my vacation home because it doesn't fit in my current home. And I love it. Like, I absolutely love it. And when I go to that home and I get to sit at that table, it brings me so much joy. And it's just the weirdest thing. Like, I don't understand it, but it's one of those things, like, like you said, this woman loves to surround herself with beautiful things. And it just brought that table to my mind because I just love it. So we will go on about you because we're not talking about me.
and from that, it was, so the other thing that she realized in that is, as she started having more fun and bringing in those beautiful things around her and really making her home the way she desired it to be, what she could do then from there is she started having more fun in her business because she started playing more, because she was more uplifted, she had more energy, she was more open to the possibilities. And as I said, these things just started lining up for her.
Isn't it funny, like, how that works, right? Like, and she was probably one of those women that was complaining, I don't know how to have fun, right? I don't know how to do that. Yeah. Right. And then all of a sudden you open up this little window and all of a sudden, like, the world is opening up to, I love those stories. I love those stories. If someone is listening to us today right now and they feel stuck in their life, what is the first actionable step you would take toward, allowing her to live out loud and be like, have that unlimited life?
The first thing is you don't have to do this alone. And it doesn't have to be hard. There's lots of people out here that will help and that will walk beside you. That's what I always look at my job is, I walk beside you. I know that it's in there. I just help you bring it out. I help you to see it and help you to recognize it and tap into it. That's my job. And it's really about the other real key thing too is start surrounding yourself with people that are uplifting, that are positive, and that are not tearing you down. It's time to not stay in that soup anymore, and it's really about finding that community, that the people that just make your heart sing. I know for myself, even if I'm having a bit of a bad day, because as I said, we all have a bad day every now and again. If I go out and get into community and start having amazing conversations like what we're doing right now, Tina, my energy level just goes whoosh. And I'm like, oh, and I can do this, and I can do this, and I can do this, and I can do this. If you stay in the soup, you're going to stay in that suit. So, I really encourage women to really start looking at who are you spending your time with? How are you spending your time? How would you prefer to spend your time? Who would you really like to be around? Because we do fall into, and gosh knows, I was there for a long time, in that we figure that we have to stay with people. We don't. People come in for a reason, for a season. There's an old saying about that. But it is really, as we grow and change and our journey deepens and our journey takes whatever curved direction it's going to go, there are going to be different people for parts of those journeys. And that's okay. And once we realize that that's okay, now we can start opening to even more.
Right, right. Yeah, like we have, like I know myself, I feel loyal to every person I meet, right? Everyone has to stay my friend. But at the same time, I also know that there are people that I meet along my journey of life that I'm meant to meet them. Yes, I'm meant to learn something from them or teach them something, but that doesn't mean they have to stay in my world forever. A friendship that lasts from young childhood into your old age is very rare. And yes, you need to cherish that friendship if you do have that, but you also can't expect it or force it to happen, right? Because there's just something that you need to learn from that relationship, whether it's in 5 minutes or it's in 20 years or whatever the case may be. I love that. Yeah. Now I want to know, so working with women and building them up, it takes a certain mindset. How do you personally maintain your mindset and energy to keep expanding it into new levels so that you can work with your next client or bring her to her next level?
Yeah, that's a great question. And for me, it's about really maintaining and keeping myself focused is the first thing. So every day I meditate, I journal every single day. I have a practice of gratitude every single day. I end my day with a practice of envisioning a short little envisioning of something cool that I really desire to have happen going forward. So those are some of those things. But I also, here I am, a coach, like others, but I have mine as well. And so I make sure to tap into other people and to expand myself, because as I grow, then that even allows me to assist the women that I'm assisting to grow even more, because it's really not about taking steps in a linear fashion. It really exponentiates on each step on itself. So as I'm growing, that just opens the door for them as well. And so I make sure that I take care of myself, and I do maintain and grow and feed my soul. That's the key. It's about feeding your soul and filling your cup up and taking care of yourself, choosing yourself and putting yourself first.
I love that. And doing it regularly. It might not be
Absolutely.
daily, but you need to make it some kind of a routine, like to sit back and go, okay, who am I? What am I doing? And is it all aligned, right? Like, is it really, and what am I going to do? And meditating, I know meditating is huge. I'm still kind of new at it. I'm getting there, right? It's not for everybody. I get that, but it's really not easy. Like, I don't find it easy. Like, my brain is everywhere, right? And so that's part of your learning, but that's also part of your self-care, right? Like, keeping
Absolutely.
yourself at the level where you need to be so you can focus on your clients and create that life that they need.
Absolutely. And for some people to sit and meditate, it just no. But their meditation is going out and going for a walk in nature and not having on headphones and not just being immersed in it. That's a form of meditation as well. And so it's really about finding what works for you and what allows you to have that peacefulness and to come back into yourself and just feel full and whole and centered.
I love that. Yeah, it actually makes me want to go sit outside, and I hate being outside, and it's shitty outside. Like we still got snow. I think it's cold today. Like it's weird outside. But
It's
you made
not.
me want to go listen to the birds and look at the blue sky. Like it's, like that's peaceful, right?
It is. It is.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because last year, for a period of time, I was like, okay, like I was going for walks outside and what have you, but I was doing it. Okay, if I'm gonna take a half an hour and go for a walk, then I need to be listening to something, or I need to be doing something, or that's the only way that I can take a half an hour to myself. That is so wrong. Like so wrong. When I stopped doing that and started going for that half hour walk and going, oh, look at that bird. Oh, look at that bird. And oh, I can hear different sounds. And now all of a sudden, everything around me comes alive. Now I'm back into my heart. Now I'm centered. Now when I come back from that walk, the stuff that I can start doing is unbelievable because now I'm in a creative mindset. Now I'm in the creative flow. Now I can actually be of love and assistance to the women that I'm here to be of love and assistance to because I'm back as me.
Right. I
So
love
important.
that. I love
important.
that. Because as women, we are so used to multitasking, right? Like I'll do this while I'm doing this, and then while I'm doing this will get done. And yeah, I totally get that. I totally get that. So that's beautiful. That is like, I mean, I'm gonna ask you, like, what's one thing, but that is definitely something that I have to take on myself. Like the one thing that I need to learn how to like really embrace is going outside to just be outside, right? Whether it's going for a walk or just sitting out in the, listening to the trees, the leaves blowing in the wind or whatever it is, just to go out there and be there, right?
Yeah.
And really embrace that. I love that. So that leads me to my next question. If every woman listening right now could walk away with just one powerful truth from you, what would you want that to be?
The powerful truth really is we are all amazing, unique individuals. We all have our own zone of genius. And when we can stay in that zone of genius and work from that place and be us, that is when we get to create the life that we love. That's when we get to create everything and we're moving forward because that's what we're here to do. We're not here to do all the do's. We're not here to do everything that we think we should do. None of that. And it's really about, it is really time for, especially as women, for us to step up and to stop playing small. We were never put on this planet to play small. We are put here to be all of who we are. So let's start being that. And let's really dive into that. And as I said, you don't have to do it alone. You don't have to do this alone. And it does not have to be hard. Hard is another story that we've been told, that we've bought into.
I love that.
And it really, I love the fact that just before that we were talking about being outside because there's something about being outside that allows you to be very present. And it is about being present and not listening to the noise. Be here. Stop listening to the noise. Listen to your heart. Listen to yourself because you have amazing wisdom inside. And when you're using your voice, you're gifting that wisdom to the rest of the world. And the world so needs all of us.
So true. So true. We all have that wisdom. Like, so in the coaching world, we ask questions and lots of times we get, I don't know. Well, I don't know. Right. And so one thing that we all have to know is we actually do know, right? You just need to give yourself the time and the space to look for the answer, right? Because it's in us, right? It might not be the answer we consciously think it is, but we do have the answer.
Yeah. Right? And the other thing that I would add to that, Tina, is we also have to give ourselves permission to allow it to come forward.
Good point.
Lots of times we hold it in because we haven't given ourselves permission to recognize it, see it, or anything. So that's part of our job too, is to really have our clients allow themselves to start tapping into who they are.
I love that. Thank you so much for joining me today, Angela. This has been so awesome. I'm so proud that you wrote your book, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. If you're already an Amazon bestseller, that means that I can still go and purchase it. So I will be doing that.
It is on Amazon.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I was so thrilled to be on here, and it was such a great conversation. Thank you again, Tina, for having me.
Oh, always, always. Confidence in Bloom is a celebration of self-love, a confirmation that even though you may not look like a screen star or a supermodel, and they don't even look like that, you are an amazing, desirable, brilliant, gorgeous, talented woman. We offer unconditional love to our partners, our children, our extended family, even our pets. It's high time we got out of our own way and learned to unconditionally love ourselves. In Full Bloom Styling and Coaching offers an online program combined with one-on-one coaching in confidence building, personal branding, and creating your signature fashion look. Chic definitely does come in every shape. So if you want something to believe in, start with yourself. If you'd like to be a guest here on Confidence in Bloom, contact me through Instagram at infobloomstyling, by email tina@infobloomstyling.com, or through the Divas That Care website.
Thanks for listening. This show was brought to you by Divas That Care. Connect with us on Facebook, on Instagram, and of course on divasthatcare.com, where you can subscribe to our newsletter so you don't miss a thing.